All right, folks, welcome back. It's Dave and Bill here, and we're back as we head into a new General Assembly session, and we wanted to share with you some of the bills that we're tracking.
David, it's good to be back, and we're looking forward to seeing what this General Assembly session brings us. Of course, the way the General Assembly is established, they have to set up their procedural agreements before they get into any of these bills. So we expect tomorrow will be all about inauguration, vetting, and confirmations of the appointed secretaries, the appointed administrative heads, where we'll see all these appointments come before the General Assembly to be questioned about their stances on issues and so forth. Then that's when we'll get into the bills, mainly probably about midweek next week, and those bills will start going out to all the committees to be vetted for passage or failure.
Mm-hmm. So we won't have a whole lot of work heading into the first few days in terms of bills, but there are a few that we're taking a look at. House Bill 7 is one bill, and I think that this might be the anti-ICE bill, but it involves facial coverings. And for law enforcement, there are a number of exclusions in the bill in terms of what is allowed, and it has to be established through the DCGS, and there could be some operations that allow facial covering, but there is a big gap in there in terms of what the bill does allow, and one of those is inclement weather. It does not address inclement weather. Of course, there are times where folks might be at a protest, standing outside for extended periods of time in inclement weather, and need to be able to cover their face.
In the mountains of Southwest Virginia, where the wind's really cold, and there's times up there that you want a scarf or whatever over your face to block the wind if you're doing a search or whatever for individuals that have been lost up there, and there's no exemptions for all that.
Mm-hmm. And most importantly, because doing so without the exemption and without the authorization by DCGS would make it a Class 1 misdemeanor. So we want to try to make that bill at least account for all the times that would be necessary to cover your face while you're working.
And the bill was introduced by then Delegate Mike Jones, now recently elected to the Senate, so I presume that someone will pick it up in the House and he'll introduce the same bill in the Senate, since it was his bill and he got elected to that position.
Yes, sir. And then we took a look at House Bill 273, and this is a bill that would require law enforcement to provide first aid, basic first aid as required through DCGS certification to folks at critical incident situations where somebody either has a life-threatening injury or is in need of first aid. The bill does provide some coverage in terms of civil liability if you're acting in good faith based upon your training. But on the other hand, it makes the provision of that first aid a priority. Some of the things that we were thinking about in terms of what could be a priority beyond that and cause a conflict in how you do your job would be, of course, securing suspects or weapons or witnesses, or assessing the condition of your fellow officers, some things like that would or could potentially be a precedent to the provision of initial care, first aid care to a suspect.
Well, I was brought back to a time when I first came out of the academy and worked an accident on 301 where a charter bus had hit a tractor trailer. There was about 32 people on that bus that was severely injured, and we rendered basic first aid, but I was also in control of trying to make sure no one got run over that was laying in the road, trying to get people who had medical experience to help individuals, make sure that, I had all the information from the drivers that seen the accident. There's a lot that goes on just on the scene of an accident that when you are required now to render this type of aid in life-threatening positions, there was a lot of people on that bus that had life-threatening conditions, but you're only one person. You can go to a scene of a multiple shooting, and you're going to have to be taxed to make sure make sure the scene is safe. Do you know where the shooter is? All these things, officer safety wise, that have to play into that's not covered in this bill that could be problematic in the future.
And I think that the bill also doesn't account for the varying range of psychological effects that can happen in
True.
terms of the person that's involved in using force on a suspect. There could be a delay. The bill is problematic because it says that you're covered civilly except for gross negligence or willful misconduct, and we don't know what willful misconduct is because it's not defined in the bill. So. There are certainly some gaps there. I think that while it's good intentioned, it may not be completely where it needs to be in order for it to be.
And I think in the bill it gives DCJS the authority to develop these guidelines that you go by, and it's still at that. You still do not exempt them from this type of liability, which then makes it problematic in the future for individuals that are trying to render aid that are not trained to do so.
Mm-hmm. And we also are tracking Senate Bill 32, which is the repeal of right to work in Virginia. The right to work provision actually includes a lot of things just beyond the right to work in terms of unionization. There is one specific part of right to work that's sought to be repealed, and that deals with the condition of employment based upon the union membership.
Right.
Now, current law states that it cannot be a condition of employment that you belong to a union, and Senate Bill 32 intends to repeal that, where you would be required to be a part of the union as a condition of employment, or could be required to be a part of the union.
And that's a step in the direction just to give the power back over to the union and not the General Assembly or the people. Businesses have come to Virginia over the years because the right to work law existed. They knew that their employees could unionize, but they could never stop them from producing a product or anything like that because the other individuals didn't have to join this union. It was a choice of theirs. It was a closed ballot, secret ballot on how it was formed, and this opens everything up and allows that allows people that don't want to be a part of the union to be scrutinized
and to force them to
fired.
have to pay,
Right.
too.
Force them to pay, that's true.
Yeah,
That's
that's the key.
the whole key to it, is the money, to force them to pay for it.
And while we only have these three that we're looking at very closely, there is still time for bills to be filed. We expect that there'll be a whole slew of additional bills that we'll be talking about as we go along.
Yeah, the majority of the bills will drop tomorrow when the gavel drops as they go into session, and they will, in their procedural resolution, set a time frame in which all bills are to be filed. And then they'll have a number, whether it be 5 or 3, that they can file after pre-file. And once that's all done, we'll know what all is being introduced. The governor can introduce bills at any time during the session, so I mean that could happen at any moment if she decides to drop a bill. The other part is the budget. Budget amendments are usually due on the Friday after the session starts. We've been watching the budget. The budget for the department is increased slightly. The money is there for this academy class that's coming through. We're just trying to keep an eye and protect what Governor Youngkin has put in the budget to make sure that the money's there to operate for operations. And we're having a budget meeting tomorrow, and hopefully we can iron out what we need to address going forward. The 2% increase that takes place July 1 is still there. The 2% the following is still there. So then there's a 1% bonus, and the budget will change dramatically. I mean, everything there is there because Governor Youngkin has put it in the introduced budget. Now the General Assembly will have their chance to rewrite, to do whatever they're going to do with the budget, and the new incoming governor will have her ability to change and amend the budget as she sees fit. So we have a long ways to go. This is a long session, 60 days. Doesn't end till March 13th, and we expect that there'll be a lot of things that occur over this period of time. In saying that, we're going to be keeping you up to date through these podcasts. We have a new podcast room here, which David has constructed, which looks really good. David,
thank you. I first tried it, but
yeah,
I think
we're almost professional.
Yes. And so we'll keep you up to date. We got a long road ahead of us. Certainly there'll be more bills that we'll be looking at, more focused bills in terms of law enforcement. And we'll bring that information to you as we learn it. And we'll continue to advocate both for what's good in law enforcement and what's good in terms of the budget, the salaries, the compensation, and things of that nature.
Well, and we hope to have some guests on. We have interviewed and talked to the new colonel. We've asked him if he would do a podcast. He's agreed. We'll work on getting podcasts set up for legislators. So we'll hopefully have opportunities to have them speak directly to you. And with that, you can hear firsthand their opinions on issues.
Very good. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.